As any progressive advocate for voting rights should know, Title 52, Chapter 103 codifies the provisions of federal law concerning the enforcement of voting rights, and, particularly those who have claimed voter suppression should be aware that, under 52 U.S.C. Section 10307A, no person acting under color of law shall fail or refuse to permit any person to vote who is entitled to vote, or is otherwise qualified to vote, or willfully fail or refuse to tabulate, count, and report such person's vote. And for those less familiar with legalese and jurisprudence, an action performed under color of law would involve any instance in which a government official or agent has conspired to violate civil rights, an action punishable under the Criminal Code, under 18 U.S.C. Sections 241 and 242. Under 52 U.S.C. Section 10307b, the Congress had declared that no person, whether acting under color of law or otherwise, shall intimidate, threaten, or coerce, or attempt to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for voting or attempting to vote, or intimidate, threaten, or coerce, or attempt to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for urging or aiding any person to vote or attempt to vote, or intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for exercising any powers or duties. And, under 52 U.S.C. Section 10308, a list of various other federal crimes as well as civil remedies are provided, including the prohibition against depriving or attempting to deprive persons of secured rights, punishable by a fine of not more than $5,000, or imprisonment for not more than 5 years, or both, destroying, defacing, mutilating, or altering ballots or official voting records, similarly subject to a fine of not more than $5,000, or imprisonment for not more than 5 years, or both, and conspiring to violate or interfere with secured rights, also subject to a fine of not more than $5,000, or imprisonment for not more than 5 years, or both. However, these violations only empower the Attorney General to take these actions to provide redress for violations of voting rights. And, in one affluent suburb of the nation's capital, Major Mike Webb, who had shared a spiritual mentor in Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, the former president of Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr., a friend of his father, and the grandson of a franchise martyr, who had been the childhood protege of a legendary civil rights and criminal defense attorney, whose high-profile clients had included Reuben "Hurricane" Carter, has recently commenced an action against several defendants after resistance, in a Northern Virginia community that has often promoted its commitment to diversity and inclusion, unless, apparently, you ain't really black. And, under 52 U.S.C. 10302a, whenever an aggrieved person, a person who can establish what the courts describe as standing, when a person has suffered actual and direct injury and/or damages, institutes a proceeding under any statute to enforce the voting guarantees of the 14th or 15th Amendment in any state, the court, mandatorily, shall authorize the appointment of federal observers by the Director of the Office of Personnel Management. This provision is mandatory where there are violations of a person's voting rights, rights to equal protection or due process under the law, and the only leeway granted to a court, which may prevent the appointment of federal observers, is if any incidents of denial or abridgment of the right to vote on account of race or color, or in contravention of the voting guarantees. 1. Have been few in number and have been promptly and effectively corrected by state or local action. 2. The continuing effect of such incidents has been eliminated, and 3. There is no reasonable probability of their recurrence in the future. And, with respect to probability of recurrence in the future, at least the press has projected out to the year 2025 and beyond that democracy is at stake, unless they decide suddenly under evolutionary pressure of a courtroom to revise those prognostications of doom, in progressive, diverse and inclusive Arlington, Virginia. So, stay tuned for more developments in this novel and exciting political contest in Virginia's 3rd House District, as Major Webb takes the whip to Virginia Democratic Caucus House Majority Whip Alfonso Lopez, and in November remember, Webb? For voting rights. Lopez. Against voting rights.